Welcome to the news on NTA International. I'm Lami Ali. John Bamidele is the sign language interpreter. Let's bring you the headlines. President Bola Tinubu and First Lady Oluremi depart Addis Ababa for Abuja after attending the 38th African Union Summit. Lagos State lawmakers pass vote of confidence on Speaker Mojisola Miranda's leadership. Plus, situation at DR Congo worsens as M23 rebels take another city. President Bola Tinubu and First Lady Oluremi have departed Addis Ababa for Abuja after attending the 38th African Union Summit. At departure, a few minutes past 4 p.m. local time, the president and his wife were personally seen off at Bole Addis Ababa International Airport by the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Abiy Ahmed. The Nigerian leader was also accorded a brief ceremony with military honors at the airport. President Tinubu attended the 38th Ordinary Summit of the African Heads of State and Government, which saw the emergence of President João Lourenço of Angola as AU chairperson, while Mahmoud Ali Yusuf from Djibouti was elected as the chairman of the commission. Also at the summit, the heads of state launched a new theme for the year, which is Justice for Africans and People of African Descent through Reparations. It is to guide the process towards seeking redress for historical injustices done to Africa and its people. Now, the African Union, AU, has endorsed Nigeria as the digital trade champion for the continent under the African Continental Free Trade Area, AfCFTA Digital Trade Protocol, following the impressive record of the federal government in promoting digital enterprise and innovation. The 38th Ordinary Session of the Assembly of Heads of State and Government, which concluded on Sunday in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, recognized Nigeria's proactive role in advancing the implementation of the Digital Trade Protocol adopted in February 2024. In his annual report on the progress of the AfCFTA's Digital Trade Protocol, former President of Niger Republic and AfCFTA champion Mahamadou Yusufu lauded Nigeria's leadership for convening the Digital Economy Roundtable in January. He noted that the gathering was pivotal in driving the digital trade agenda forward. The former Nigerian leader observed that young Africans are leaders in digital innovation, particularly in mobile banking and other digitally enabled services. M23 fighters allied with Rwandan troops entered the center of another key city in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo as the African Union highlights growing fears that the strife-torn country could break up. From Apangi brings us the details.
Scores of people have fled since the fighters reached outlying districts of Bukavu, capital of South Kivu province, on Friday. It was barely defended by Congolese armed forces. The fall of the city of 1 million people gives the M23 total control of Lake Kivu, following its capture of Goma, capital of neighboring North Kivu province, at the end of January. Growing international calls have been made for Rwanda to end its military backing for M23, though it still denies its troops are in the DRC. Reports say as they entered Bukavu, M23 fighters were applauded by some residents on the streets or huddled on balconies. Some called on the troops to march to Kinshasa, the country's capital. The Congolese armed forces who abandoned Bukavu on Friday left behind weapons that were collected by civilians and bandits. There was extensive looting over the weekend, and most residents took refuge in their homes for safety. However, latest report says vendors are seen selling fruit with traffic on streets and people walking about a day after M23 fighters allied with Rwandan troops entered the center of Bukavu. One resident says, the armed group do not bother anyone. You can pass them and they will not stop you or ask for any identity. There are still traces around the city of looting that took place over the weekend. Frama Panyi, NTA News.
In a related development, the African Union AU is warning against the breakup of the Democratic Republic of Congo after the Rwandan-backed M23 armed group entered the center of the eastern DR Congo city of Bukavu. Again, from Apangi brings us the report.
AU's Commissioner for Political Affairs, Peace and Security, Bankole Adeoye, says it is fundamental to respect the sovereignty, political unity and territorial integrity of Democratic Republic of Congo at a press conference on the sidelines of the AU summit in the Ethiopian capital, Addis Ababa. The warning came 2 days after the Rwandan-backed M23 armed group entered a second city in the country's east.
We are expressing grave concern, that is what our leaders did, on the situation in Eastern DRC. We also express concern that this escalation, this new escalation, should not become an open conflict that would disrupt and impact on humanitarian activities and the already very weakened social fabric in the region.
Without naming Rwanda, he added that they are calling for the immediate removal of M23 and their supporters from all towns and cities, including Goma Airport.
The only way to solve the problem in Eastern DRC is for all parties to sit around the table. And the African Union is ready to play that mediation role.
Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary General Antonio Guterres has also addressed the increasingly widening and bloody conflict in the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Regional escalation must be avoided at all costs. There is no military solution. The deadlock must end, the dialogue must begin, and the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the DRC must be respected.
With the likelihood of a regional conflagration in eastern DRC, the AU has been criticized for its timid approach, and observers have demanded more decisive action as the conflict has shaken other nations. Frama Panyi, NTA News.
A search for economic liberation for Africa and the need for the continent to take a stand against neocolonialism were the thrust of a press briefing organized by the Association of Foreign Relations Professionals of Nigeria in Abuja. Francis Udojo has the details.
The chairman of Association of Foreign Relations Professionals of Nigeria, Ambassador Gani Lawal, chaired the press conference made up of 7 and retired diplomats and other stakeholders. It is aimed at impacting foreign policy options of Nigeria, especially as it affects the African economy and overcoming challenges associated with neocolonialism.
At present, the national interest of Nigeria is to build a strong economic base, fight insurgency and terrorism, and decapitate the corruption monster.
To liberate Africa, especially Nigeria, from neocolonialism, fixing the power sector, security, and improving SMSE were recommended by the diplomats.
You go to all the industrial cities, 70 to 80% of them are comatose. And the problem is power.
How do we, as Africa, create a buffer that will help us to use our own resources for our own economic development?
The refinery of Dangote today is already changing the dynamics in the oil and gas industry. So it is very significant that government and Nigeria's foreign policy pays attention to PPP towards encouraging their expansion in West Africa and the rest of Africa.
Others suggested the need to bring back exiting ECOWAS nations and purposeful leadership in African nations as steps towards African unity and development.
It is issue of our leadership. We have to find a way of talking to our leaders to develop that political will that can really change this country.
Meanwhile, the 7th annual conference of the organization with the theme Economic Liberation through Public-Private Partnership, a catalyst against neocolonialism in Africa, has been slated for Thursday with dignitaries including patrons of the association expected to grace the occasion. Francis Udojo, NTA News.
Lagos State lawmakers have reiterated their unflinching support for the first female Speaker of the House of Assembly, Lami by passing a vote of confidence on her leadership. This was at a plenary presided over by the Speaker in Lagos. The lawmakers insist that the recent change in leadership and emergence of Honorable Lami remain the consensus of the entire membership of the Lagos State House of Assembly. Musa Toliat reports that the vote of confidence on the Speaker is informed by the drama that happened earlier when some plainclothes security operatives besieged the House of Assembly complex and tried to prevent the lawmakers from holding plenary at the chamber. The Police Service Commission today has approved the appointment of Olundare Moshood Jimoh as the Commissioner of Police, Lagos State Command. CP Jimoh, before his appointment, was Commissioner of Police Ports Authority, Eastern Ports. Jimoh, who hails from Kwara State, was former Force Public Relations Officer and later Deputy Commissioner, Airport Police, Deputy Commissioner, Finance and Administration, and Deputy Commissioner, General Investigation. CP Olundare Moshood Jimoh is a recipient of the Presidential Award for Public Relations Personality of the Year in recognition of his sterling qualities and outstanding contribution to the development and use of public relations by the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations. Now, the air components of Operation Fansenyama conducted a successful airstrike at Yawni Hill, Zakar Ward of Safana local government area of Katsina State, neutralizing several bandits and helped to repel the onslaught against police mobile force and Katsina State Community Watch Corps personnel. A statement by the Director of Public Relations and Information, Air Vice Marshal Olushola Kimboiwa, indicates that the operation was launched in response to intelligence indicating a terrorist attack on a police mobile force location in the community where bandits had already killed 2 of the personnel and 4 vigilantes. In a swift and decisive response, NAF air assets were deployed for an air interdiction mission, and upon arrival, the targets were identified and engaged. However, reports allege civilian casualties following the airstrikes are deep. However, reports alleging civilian casualties following the airstrikes are deeply troubling. Responding to these allegations, the Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Hassan Abubakar, has promptly ordered a thorough investigation to verify the claims and ensure appropriate action is taken based on the findings. The Executive Secretary of the National Human Rights Commission, Tony Ojukwu, says 169,850 human rights complaints were received in the month of January alone. He gave the figures during the January 2025 report of the Dashboard on Human Rights. The figures, he said, is a reminder that human rights violations persist in diverse forms and on alarming scale, adding that each of these complaints represents a person, family or community seeking justice, accountability and relief.
Let every stakeholder in the Nigerian project recommit itself and the entire nation to realizing the human rights of every girl, every woman, every boy, or every man in Nigeria. We call on all stakeholders to join and support the National Human Rights Commission in protecting and promoting the dignity of every Nigerian in line with our national and international commitments.
In the primary level, the dashboard contains complaints from our 36 state offices, our Abuja Metropolitan Office, and the headquarters in Abuja, monitored through our complaint system, and secondly, through our observatory. Our Human Rights Observatory is a virtual platform that we have established to monitor and track every human rights violation in Nigeria, whether reported to the Commission or not.
Presenting the dashboard report, Hilary Ogbonna, Senior Human Rights Advisor to the Executive Secretary, said these figures indicate over 100% decrease from the December 2024 dashboard, but an increase of over 1,000% compared with the January 2024 dashboard. You're watching News at 7 on NTA International. We will now take a break to bring you some more stories shortly. Do stay.
I am Oluremi Tinubu, the global and national Stop TB champion. Many people have asked why I've chosen to champion the fight against a disease like tuberculosis. My reason stems from a deep personal experience. I once had a friend who unfortunately fell ill and concealed the nature of his sickness until it was too late. Eventually, after he passed, we discovered he had tuberculosis. Sadly, due to the stigma and discrimination surrounding the disease, he would not speak up or seek for help. His death was a painful reminder that we could have intervened and saved a life if only we had known earlier. Tuberculosis is an airborne disease that primarily affects the lungs, but can also impact other parts of the body. Being airborne means anyone, regardless of their social economic status, can contract it. In Nigeria, 1 person dies of TB-related illness every 7 minutes, amounting to 206 deaths every day. Globally, 1 person succumbs to TB every 25 seconds, which is a staggering 3,456 lives lost daily. These deaths are entirely preventable because TB is curable if detected and treated early. If you or someone you know has been coughing for 2 weeks or more, coughing up blood, experiencing night sweats, or losing weight drastically, it might be TB. Please visit the nearest government hospital or primary healthcare center for proper diagnosis and treatment. TB treatment is free in all government and some private health facilities. Let us also remember not to stigmatize or discriminate against TB patients or those who have been treated for TB. Individuals who have been cured of TB cannot infect others. I call on all stakeholders, especially the private sector, to join us in the fight to end TB in Nigeria. Together, we can make a difference. Remember, TB anywhere is TB everywhere. End TB by 2030. Yes, we can.
Thank you for staying. As a new set of leaders takes over the affairs of the African Union and its Commission, Nigeria is expecting priority attention on solving peace and security challenges in parts of the continent. This is the position of Nigeria as protected by President Bola Tinubu at the just concluded 38th Summit of the African Heads of State and Government in Addis Ababa. State House correspondent Musbaut Al-Wahab brings us the details.
At the decisive moment for change of leaders at the African Union, President Bola Tinubu joined other leaders to guide the process. Though somewhat retrospective, with the theme of the year, the future of the continent and its people are equally at stake. President João Lourenço of Angola now leads the current assembly as AU chairperson, while Mahmoud Ali Yusuf takes the longer-term leadership role as the AU Commission chairperson.
This is what Nigeria wanted. Nigeria pushed and played a very, very significant role in the emergence of this new leadership. President Tinubu gave direction as to what he wanted. He wanted a dynamic leadership, and we expect that they'll be able to implement the necessary reforms, because don't forget that Nigeria is a tier 1 country, so it's one of the largest contributors to the African Union, and that's why we've been calling for reforms so that the funds that are contributed by the countries are applied in a more efficacious manner.
And then Nigeria gets its reward in the leadership of a commission with a first-round win for Bankole Adeoye as the AUC Commissioner for political affairs, peace and security. Another area of interest for Nigeria is the need for the establishment of the African Rating Agency to facilitate the much-needed investment and development across member states.
The West financial system, the Bretton Woods system, has been skewed against Africa and against even the global South. This is a great opportunity to balance that, to ensure that there's an even playing field. Our nuances, our history, our development path, which is quite different from that of the West, is respected and will taken into. So we have our own independent judges.
Nigeria is hoping to leverage the African Continental Free Trade Area when implemented, as the Economic Commission for Africa signed an MOU with the Secretariat.
President Tinubu got a commendation from the AU champion on AFCFTA for his leading role on digital trade protocol. We had a roundtable in January hosting the Secretary General, and our fintechs, about 5 of them, got to speak and talk about what they're doing across the continent. You know that the AFCFTA and the digital trade and services in particular is where our young people are competitive. As you know, 5 out of 9 unicorns are from Nigeria. So it's really an area where Mr. President, picking up from his meeting in Paris with Google, he's really prioritized this agenda, and he will continue to do so.
The agreement is to advance implementation and foster economic integration across Africa. From Addis Ababa, Musbah Dan Wahab, NTA News.
Women, youth and persons with disability will be given more special attention in the 2027 general election. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, gave the assurance when the America's Empowerment Institute visited the Commission's headquarters in Abuja to collaborate in promoting access to voting by marginalized groups. Mie Ogidi reports.
They are physically constrained, but that is not a constraint to their civic rights. Nigeria, with an estimated 25 million physically challenged persons, large number of this figure willing to participate actively in the electoral process. But trust and access are battles yet to be won by this group of persons.
You have a motion for a particular candidate that is different from mine, and I think I trust you. You get there, I tell you, do this for party A or party B, you do something else. So you cannot actually trust anybody.
It's actually not accessible. I had to beg some people to hold me to cross the gutter, which isn't so accessible. So I could just imagine someone on a wheelchair trying to access here and then going up to go and vote. You can see the cubicle is located on.
And the best place to address these issues is INEC.
So why we're here is to come and see how we can collaborate. And our passion is to 2027 election.
America's Empowerment Institute, Training Institute in Nigeria, collaborating with INEC to bridge these gaps.
The passion we have as we speak for the moment is to see that this set of marginalized people, they have a voice, they have the ability to be given the chance to vote.
It is not a small thing that you have to give your will to another person to represent you through voting. So it is always stated that if it is not from us, then it will not be for us. And that is why the issue of inclusion is very key, so that they can speak for themselves.
Then we have policy for PWDs in general. PWDs, we have separate policy for them. And during election time, we cater for them.
Recommendations will be factored into preparations for the 2027 general election. Mie Ogede, NTA News.
Contents of the report submitted by the panel on activities of suspended council chairman indicates that the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, may have to prosecute some of the recently impeached Edo State local government chairmen for alleged misappropriation of council funds running into billions of naira. Governor Okpebholo made this revelation when he received the report of the administrative panel of inquiry set up in this regard at the Government House. Goodluck Enaini reports.
The panel was set up on the 18th of December last year to investigate the financial dealings of the impeached 18 local government chairmen in Edo State from 14 September 2023 to November 2024. Besides the impeached local government chairmen who were indicted by the report, former Governor Godwin Obaseki, leaders of the People's Democratic Party (PDP), among others, were also allegedly indicted. Governor Mondo Pawolo, while expressing dismay at the findings of the report that implicated the impeached 18 local government chairmen, vowed to petition the EFCC on the findings of the report for immediate prosecution. He urged Nigerians to start demanding accountability from elected public office holders, as it is sure way to fighting corruption and ensure development.
I want to also use to thank the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, because without him, what we are seeing in Edo today, we can't see it. A lot is happening, and I'm taking this document straight to EFCC myself. And at the same time, I'll follow up to see that justice is done to this.
Chairman of the panel, Solomon Imohiosen, noted that findings and forensic investigations uncovered that huge sums amounting to 96 billion naira was either mismanaged or diverted to private accounts.
We have received the forensic report, the comprehensive document that provides detailed analysis of the financial records and other relevant materials.
The panel's terms of reference include to look into the financial activities of the 18 local government areas in Edo State and inquire into all contracts awarded by the various local government chairmen from 4th September to date to determine whether due process was followed in all contractual approvals given by the local government chairmen, among others. In Benin, Goodluck Enaini, NTA News.
And up next is Tuesday's weather prospects for Nigerian cities and other parts of the